My name is Emily, and this is my submission for Project Reach. The summer before I went to middle school was the first time that the word cancer belonged to me. For weeks I'd had a pain in my right leg that prompted my mother to take me to the pediatrician to find some answers. And after running some tests, we found an answer, and it was osteosarcoma, bone cancer. I quickly started chemotherapy, and 2 months later I had my right leg amputated above the knee. Another 6 months of treatment, and I finally exited the haze, which was my battle against cancer. And while that was over, in many ways, my narrative for the rest of my life had changed. I was now a cancer survivor, but I was also an amputee, and being a cancer survivor made me a hero. It was something to be celebrated. But being an amputee felt very different. It was something that felt very shameful. And for the rest of my life, it put me in a category I didn't want to be in, which was someone who was disabled. So for years, I felt that way, disabled, and I limited myself for way too long. Through middle school, high school, college, I did everything in my power to hide from and hide the fact that I was an amputee. And to anyone who was even slightly observant, it was pretty obvious, which I now realize. And then in my early 20s, I started paying attention to something that was going on around me, and had been for quite some time. And I realized what was going on was that people loved me despite the fact that I was an amputee. And maybe it was time to start loving all of myself, which included the fact that I was missing my leg. And once I gave myself that permission, it was incredibly freeing. I can't even tell you. And I started figuring out ways to participate in all these activities that I told myself I couldn't do. Rock climbing, kayaking, biking. Did I have to find creative ways to make it work for me? Of course. But I wasn't scared anymore to look different doing things because I knew I deserved to be happy too. And once I started, I realized there was really nothing that was impossible. And I'm so glad I learned that lesson in general because it's changed the way I see the world. But I'm also glad that I learned that lesson specifically because last year I found out I was pregnant with twins. And that certainly was the biggest physical challenge yet. And this is where you would insert a joke about a girl with one leg having two babies, because I know I did. But like everything else, I found that I just had to figure out my own way to do it. And I'm so happy now. I have 3-month-old girls. I'm a mom. I am a cancer survivor.